The next thing we are going to look at is the identity column. Identity has two parts, seed and increment. Seed is the starting value of a column and the default value for the seed is 1, whereas increment is incremental value that is added to the identity value of the previous row that was loaded, and the default value for the increment is also 1. Let's look with an example. Alter table, we already got the code from there, copy from there, add a new column, call ID, give a data type int, and then type identity, and this is our seed and that's our increment. So if we run this, execute, command completed successfully, just test our patient table. As you can see, it has given ID number starting from number 1 to number 12 because there are 12 rows in our table. We can try with a different seed and increment. Please bear in mind only one identity column is allowed in the table. So if we want to create a new one, what we need to do is we need to drop this identity column first. Let's copy this code again. And then we need to type drop column ID. So if we run that, so our identity column should disappear. As you can see, that's gone. So let's try with a different seed and different increment. Okay, on this occasion we are saying we are starting from 1000 and we are incrementing it by 10. So let's do that. That's added, and if we look at our patient table now, it started with 1000 and increment with 10, 10, 20, 30, 40 to 1110. So let's look at another thing. Let's insert a row to find out how it affects the identity column without providing the ID column. So we are going to insert row. Alright, okay, so let's pick this one. Patient ID. Okay, so we got all the 4 columns. Let's give it a different ID, 200, and call this, the name is identity. Leave the, okay, just change the city name this time, call it Tokyo instead, and then add urgency ID 1. So our last column is ID, but we are not adding anything for ID. Let's run this and see what happens. So we added the row. Let's look at our patient table. When we execute that, look at the last column. So our row patient ID 200 called identity with city Tokyo is 1120, which means even if we don't provide the identity, it will increment according to the increment, which is we set to number 10. So it will keep incrementing to number 10. What if we delete some of the rows from our table? What will happen then? Okay, let's delete from the patient table. ID in, let's see, let's delete two of these, and that one, pick that, copy, and the other one, that one. So we are going to delete these two rows, number 11 and number 12. Okay, let's delete these and then run it again. So those two rows gone, but our last row is still showing as identity 1120, although two of the rows are deleted from the table. Okay, now do one more thing. Now we're going to insert another row. Okay, let's give it ID 300. Leave the rest as it is. So let's see if it replaces one of those missing IDs or it gives a new number. Okay, if we run this now, then test it. Oh no, it didn't. It just jumped to the next number. Instead of filling the missing number 1100 or 1110, it added a row as 1130. Let's try again by forcing the missing ID. Okay, let's try to force the missing ID and see what happens. Copy this code in, paste it here, and now give it a different number. Okay, the missing one we had in here was 100, so we add 100 here and call it 1100. We need to provide the column name as well, which is ID. Then we need to provide the urgency ID. Let's call it 1. Insert this. Can insert a value for any column in the table. The impatient when identity insert is set to off. Right. Okay. So it did not allow that. So we need to do a workaround for that to work. So what we need to do is we need to set identity underscore insert impatient on. So we need to run this code. Let's try again. And on this occasion it worked. Let's test it. Yeah, as you can see, it has added that missing identity 100 and then ID is 1100. Now try to insert another row without providing the ID and see what happens while this insert identity is on. So copy this code, go at the bottom, just type, let's put 500 here, and we are not going to provide any ID. Get rid of that as well. If we run this, okay, so it says explicit value must be specified for identity column in the table. So it does not allow that. When the identity insert is on, we need to provide the ID. To resolve this, either we turn the insert identity off or provide ID. Let's try to turn this off. Copy this, paste it here, and turn this off. Now that's turned off. Copy the code, paste it here, And now try to insert the row. The row has inserted, and then let's run this. There you go. So when we turn that insert set identity insert off, then the number went right at the bottom of the table and it gives a new number. But when we turn it on, then we can insert in between the rows. One more thing, okay, what if we delete all the rows from the patient table? Delete from patient table. So we have deleted all the 14 rows from the patient table. Let's test this. As you can see, everything is just gone. Okay, now let's insert a row into the patient table. So if we copy that code, can you guess what the ID would be? Okay, run this. See, okay, so what happens is when we inserted the row was inserted right at the bottom, although there were 14 rows before that, and our seed started from number 1000, but it did not reset the counter and keep on adding the new rows at the back of the table. What we can do is we can reset our seed. To do that, we can run this code. Let's delete this first and dbcc check and name of the table, reseed back to 0. Right, okay, so if we do that now, okay, checking identity information, current identity value is 1150, dbcc execution completed. If dbcc printed an error, okay, right, but there is no error message. We run this and check, so everything is gone. Now one more time, try to insert a row. So try to insert this row. Okay, on this occasion we are not going to provide any ID in the ID column. So let's try with number 100 and see what happens. So the row is inserted. Execute that, and as you can see, the number is 10. We have reset our seed to 0, back to 0, but we have not reset our counter. If you remember, let's scroll it up. Our counter, initial counter was number 10. So it was, our seed was 1000 and our increment was number 10. So what we did here, we have reseed our or reset the counter to 0, but the increment is still 10. So for that reason, our first row is given ID number 10. That's identity column covered.